Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And the deliberate destruction of the Scottish legal system continues abated. There is no justice now because there is a loophole, shall we say, in Scottish law that has been closed in England, but for some reason the SNP do not want to close this loophole. And presumably, it's to make sure that it's still something that continues to happen, and it helps those who are guilty of certain crimes to live a fulfilling life and still carry on doing the awful things they do. And that is that they are still allowing people convicted of some of the worst degrading and depraved acts to just simply walk away and just change their name and not have to report anymore, even under license. They just become someone new, move to a new area and start again. And some of these people have done some very, very serious things, often and occasionally anyway, involving children. Change your name, move away, start again. That's what the SNP think. It's not important. They're only children, aren't they? Let's have a look. So hundreds of sex offenders changed their names in SNP's Soft Justice Scotland due to a dangerous loophole. Now, this loophole was changed in England a couple of years ago, England and Wales. And for some reason, the SNP decided, no, we're not going to do the same as England because, we never do the same as England. We'll keep this, we'll keep this because I'm sure it's not a problem. And so they release these people that go back out into the community, supposed to be under license and things. They just simply change their name, move away, and no one knows where they are, who they are, or what they're doing. So they could move in next to your child or grandchild. And who knows? You can't check the register because they're no longer on the register. They are now John Smith, whereas they used to be, Paul Brown. Any John Smiths or Paul Browns, I apologise, I'm just using the names at random. But you understand the difference. Someone has their name and it's on the register. You check the register. Well, no, it's not him. Only it is. And he's calling himself a different name now. The Scottish Tories have long called for the Scottish Government to enact legislation to block those on the register from changing their names, while they still they have to notify Police Scotland about their whereabouts. But apparently it's not something the SNP are particularly bothered about. The Scottish Government has been accused of allowing sex offenders to take advantage of a dangerous loophole, as hundreds of the fiends have legally changed their name since 2022. It has led to claims that potentially menacing individuals are now hiding in plain sight, and highlighted as another example of SNP soft touch justice. I will go further and say it's deliberate. We know this. They're looking to deliberately lessen the punishment of certain crimes, negate certain crimes. They're constantly pushing for the sexualisation of children. And if these people are about and it's just there and it's just there, it becomes normalised. They're trying to normalise it until eventually P, which is what the P stands for in SNP, is an everyday occurrence and everyone can just have access to anyone else's child and there's nothing anyone can do. Believe you me, there is definitely things that I would do. So, you need to be aware of that. I'm getting old. I don't care. 20 years in prison? Handful of heartbeats. Anyway, statistics revealed by the Scottish Tories found that over 400 registered sex offenders are living under new identities. 392 people on the register notifying Police Scotland of a change of name. In the 2022-23 financial year, 241 notifications were made, while 151 alerted police between April the 1st and the end of October last year. Now, you can change your name and tell the police, but it doesn't change the name on the register. That's the problem. Calls have long been made for SNP ministers to change the law to stop this from happening, amid fears it could put the public at risk. Of course it can. Not fears. It's not fears it will put the public at risk. It will undoubtedly put the public at risk. The government have claimed that they are considering legislation to do this, following a potential change of law in the rest of the UK. Once again, they could have done it at the same time. They chose not to. And it's only now, later, when they've been called on it, years later, after how many children have been abused, that they, oh God, we've been caught out on it. We're not going to get away with it. We better do something and pretend we wanted to do something about it after all. The Scottish Tories urged the Nationalist administration to hurry up with this, with Justice spokesman Russell Findlay claiming that sex offenders can hide in plain sight by changing their name. He says hundreds more registered offenders in Scotland have been legally able to just change their names, and people who they meet in daily life, especially those who they have relationships with, are deprived of knowing who they really are. Being placed on the offenders register is not done lightly, and it's clearly wrong for them to be able to hide in plain sight this way. And that's the problem. So you can go and check someone. You actually have the right to go and check, and you can go and check and say, well, you know, is he on there? No, he's no one of that name. Oh, that's all right then. Only, of course, it is. He is on the register. He just changed his name, and now he's fiddling with your kids. And that's, of course, when you wait till he goes to sleep, ladies, and then off with the ghoulies. Having first called on SNP ministers to close this dangerous loophole 2 years ago, nothing has happened. The government says the public protection measures are sufficient, but that claim is simply untrue. Of course it is. If you're not changing the name on the register, if people are just changing the name and you can't check them and see if they're on that register, how is that possibly safe? It's madness to suggest it is. It's criminal to suggest it is. You are deliberately endangering the vulnerable of society. So these alarming new figures demonstrate the growing scale of the problem. Does there need to be another tragic crime before action is taken? Well, with the SNP, yes. Several. They won't get it into their thick heads otherwise. The Tories have pushed for those on the register to be barred from changing their names while still subject to notification requirements. And a police spokesperson said people are legally entitled to change their name, and this includes registered sex offenders. However, under the Sexual Offences Act 2003, Section 84, RSOs are required within 3 days to notify the use of a name which has not previously been notified to the police. They said failure to do so is an offence punishable by up to 5 years imprisonment. We proactively and robustly enforce the sex offender notification requirements to ensure all breaches are reported to the Procurator Fiscal. I'm sure they are, but nothing is done, and the Procurator Fiscal Service doesn't really do much, even when they are caught. What do you get for R-ing a child in Scotland? Litter picking. So it's hardly worth it anyway. And she's overseeing that, and she knows what's going on, and she's not doing it. Is she all for it? Because it does strike me as being, if you have the power to change something for the good, and you're choosing deliberately not to, then you must be actually actively working against that. And therefore you are supportive of child abuse, in my opinion. And that wouldn't surprise me, Miss Constance. Coming up. For some time now, Constance has been on the wrong side of every decision legally. She's supposedly in charge of justice, and yet in Scotland there appears to be no justice. She always seems to be on the side of the perv, of the predator, and on the pede. Why is that? Is that who mentally she's on the side of? Is that who she idolises and thinks should be allowed to roam freely? Does she see children as precious little fruit to be plucked? It makes you wonder when you see the punishments handed out and the lack of interest in trying to protect anyone. When she pushes men into women's prisons, when she's pushing for child protection to be removed, when she's pushing for the relaxation because, he was under 25, thus allowing everyone under 25 to do more or less what they want. It's a very strange woman. I think she's got very strange views, and I think she's got very dangerous views. And I think that had she not been in the position she'd be in, she would probably be in prison for some of the crimes that we think possibly would be committed by her. I think she's very, very dangerous. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and I will speak to you later. Bye.